Well, welcome back to Things Reasons. This is the independent podcast. This is the show where you hear what's not being said on stage. It's the conversation after the meeting when people drop the script and they say exactly what they think, which is what we're going to do. We talk about drivers, shaping Australian IT, tech shifts, talent gaps, budget pressure, vendor plays, leadership calls, and of course, all the reasons behind them. And I'm of course here with you, Jono staff. There's somebody else here, but I'm going to talk to you first. What have you been up to this week?
Mate, it's been a huge week, and it's interesting that we're recording this episode today. Yesterday, I was busy figuring out how to do my first LinkedIn newsletter.
Right.
Don't want to say too much about it.
Okay.
There were some problems, but we got it out there.
Look, I mean, we do get a lot of help with these things. I'd like to think that the instructions were clear. I don't know what went wrong there, but I mean, we did figure it out in the end. It was early. I'm going to give you that, right? I don't know whether it was pre-coffee for you, but we got it done.
Yeah, look, I'm not a rooster, mate.
Okay. All right. But yeah, it was a big day yesterday.
It was a big day.
Big day.
It was huge, yeah. We launched.
Yep.
We're out there. We're official. The response has been great. It's very encouraging. So encouraging that we decided to record another one.
Right.
So here we are today.
Here we are. Now, we should probably get into it because we do have somebody else sitting here.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've noticed.
We do.
Okay. All right. Today we're joined by James Henderson. He's the Editorial Director at Moxie Insights. Welcome to Things Reasons.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you having me.
Absolute
Great
pleasure
to
to
have
have you
you.
on. Now, let's give you a little bit of an intro. All right. So James is the Editorial Director at Moxie Insights. He's spent his career turning complex techs and business trends into stories that leaders pay attention to, covering everything from AI investment in Australia, digital strategy in Singapore. When he's not shaping executive conversations, you'll likely find him running the streets of Singapore. It sounds like a very human place to go running, using the miles to clear his head and to sharpen his perspective. He is usually on the other side of the table doing the interviews. This is the first time he's actually been the interviewee. Is that true?
It is true, and it might not go very well. I'm not sure how interesting I am, so we'll find out.
We'll find out. Well, listen, welcome, James. Happy to have you here.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, guys, and congrats on the launch of the podcast.
Awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. It's a little bit different, actually. You know, when we were talking about doing this, it's a bit of self-interest here because Naran and I are super curious about B2B media and how it all works. And I think a lot of people in the tech industry are.
Yes.
Right, so we're going to blow it wide open
We're
today.
going to blow it wide open. I remember the previous conversation we had is that, you know, people like you and I, perhaps, I don't know, other people are kind of making things up as they go. I know with this podcast, we've certainly been doing that.
There's a bit of that.
Maybe we've got a real professional here who can tell us what to do this time.
No, I'm the same. I've just been doing it longer.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Fantastic. Well, let's get into it.
Let's go.
Cool.
I don't know why I'm saying that, but it's not my host. It's not my show.
It's okay.
Go again.
No, do you know what?
Go
Just
again.
force a habit.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always the one doing the welcome it. I'm like, welcome. It's not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, thanks,
it in.
guys. Welcome
I'm
to
happy
my
with it.
podcast. Sorry, slap in the face.
I didn't even notice.
I did it twice. Oh, leave it. It's fine.
Go again, go
Fine.
again. It's I don't
Again.
care.
Oh,
He's,
okay.
he's taken over the pod. Look at him. He's
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
there.
yeah, it's
All right, fine. Ready?
We're good? All right. Try not to
Well, of
laugh.
course
You
it-
almost did it again.
I know. I'm like,
No, it's good.
All right, so. Okay, what's on the table? Now, you and I can see what's on the table. Nobody else can. That's deliberate, of course. So, Jono, what is on the table today? What are we talking about?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about this term that gets thrown around a lot in our industry. We're probably guilty of it as well. But this term, thought leadership.
Is that what this is?
Well, I think we're going to explore that today with James. Thought leadership, I feel like it's an overused term. What does it really mean? Is it ridiculous? Does it hold any value? What does it actually look like? And how do we spot it?
Right.
And I know James has some strong views on this. And James, we'd love to hear from you, obviously, a bit about maybe the catalyst for launching Moxie Insights and your views on this thought leadership thing.
Yeah, and on thought leadership, in principle, I'm a fan of it, but then I'll do the caveat.
All right.
But I'm a fan with the idea behind it, but I just feel like it's probably been hijacked a little bit, and it's a little bit overused. It's like one of those where if you have to say you're something, that's probably not what you are.
Flexing.
So if you're walking around saying you're a thought leader, it's probably because you're not a thought leader.
We've never done that.
Just be one.
No.
So there's a little bit of that, but when we launched Moxie, it was actually really, especially from my side as editorial, it was really from a content standpoint, which I know we're going to get into today, but really just that quality, authentic content, which I think if you do that in the right way, with depth, with originality, then you actually can actually deliver good thought leadership. But as I mentioned, the caveat is there's a lot of surface level, self-serving type of content out there that's branded as thought leadership. So I'm on the fence on it. I agree with it in principle, but in practice, it's not very well done.
On the fence, you mentioned authenticity. I think that's something Naran and I are pretty passionate about, and something we're trying to bring into the industry with this show, and that is sort of getting under the covers and just getting back to the real thing that we're all trying to do.
I mean, the fact that you guys have launched this and the industry, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years, and there's never been something like this. And I'm saying that as a media person, is credit to you guys, but also highlights the distinct lack of authenticity that is in the market from a content standpoint. So it's great that you guys are the first, but it's also alarming that you actually are the first.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know if you've ever thought about it that way before.
No, we didn't think about it like that. I think what prompted us to start to explore this space was, I think we sat around and we said, we're actually sick of the fluff.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? There's a lot of fluff out there. What are we actually trying to do in tech? We're trying to, improve people's lives and do good business and do smart things and innovate and find better ways of helping people with tech. That's I mean that's my view as a technologist. But you don't often see a lot of people explaining exactly how they do that and why it's important and just bringing that with some authenticity
and depth. Right? Actually, if you're going to make a point, make it, explain it, outline the logic behind it, the reasons. It doesn't really matter what the point is, in my opinion. It could go either way. We're coming at it from an objective standpoint, but if you do it. If you actually structure your argument, whatever that may be, or your position, and you actually get into it and your reasons why, I think that's where I'm coming at. It doesn't matter if you're going one way or the other from a tech standpoint. It's the actual bit behind it is more important.
Yeah, you know what? We talk about this, when we interview people. One of the key questions I like to ask is, would I buy from you? And it has nothing to do with the product or my need or anything like that. It comes across, it's how you come across to me.
Correct.
Right? And so does somebody leave you feeling positive? Do you feel like you're endeared to them? Do you feel like they were genuine? Was it a healthy conversation? And these are the things that I'm trying to pick up on, right? Because I know that with a candidate, if it doesn't rub off on me properly, how's it going to go with prospects, etc.? So that's really what I go looking for there.
Yeah, and looking at some of the guests that you've had on, from a tech standpoint, some of them are at different sides of the market, but you can't question their authenticity and their understanding of where they're at and how they're positioning themselves. And I think that's all you can actually ask for when you're having those, because as you mentioned, it's kind of a people conversation, to be honest.
Yeah.
And as long as you've got that authenticity, I think then you've got the biggest part sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, in our industry and B2B media, you and I were talking about before this that they are two separate industries, but they're intrinsically linked. And it was a really interesting observation to say, well, okay, B2B media in tech is sort of, you said you felt a bit like you're on the outside looking in.
This is your industry. I'm not techie. I'm a media person. So it just happens to be the industry I'm in is tech. It used to be sport. It was business. So look, it's great, and we can get into that, but I always think we're one step removed, and I also think we should be as well, because we're not actually in the industry from a tech standpoint. So it gives you a different lens, but
yeah. How does it actually work? Maybe you can take our listeners, who I think most of our listeners are within the tech industry. There might be some media people following, but tell us how it actually works.
How do you think it works?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we pumped everybody with newsletters yesterday. You know, our pictures are blasted all over YouTube and LinkedIn. And so I think our approach is good luck avoiding us.
That is one approach.
Look, I mean, I joke, of course. It's an interesting question because I think Jono and I kind of approach this in that, you know, we're trying to build personal brand.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do that with openness and integrity, and we work very hard to be exactly the same as we would be sitting in a bar or a cafe having conversations. And if we had a prospect or a customer sitting next to us, there's no difference to how we speak. We speak exactly the same way. I mean, we had a guest on recently that is a customer, and we spoke to him exactly the same way on the podcast as I would anywhere, right? And so why does there have to be a difference? And the only thing that really changes is the topic, and perhaps, you know, if a customer's talking about their needs, you play it back to them in what you can do. There's no agenda beyond that, right? And so that's how it works for me. Jono, I don't know whether it's different for you.
No, I think that's right. Like I've got some observations. You know, I follow and keenly read a lot of the B2B publications that comment on the tech industry. I get my news from lots of different sources. So I think there's definitely value there. I certainly value the commentary and being able to stay up to date. But I am starting to get more curious around what drives different media organizations to comment or get involved in certain things, and what's the public interest angle when it comes to B2B? Like, how do you decide what is interesting and what is not? Like, these are the things that I think a lot of people in our industry don't really have exposure to.
Yeah, and do you know, I just realised there, sorry, gents, I was interviewing you there. I should really just...
You can do that.
Be the guest. I was just sat there going, I haven't
This is your first time, so it's okay.
Sorry, guys.
I felt like I wanted to give you a good answer.
But
pressure.
You know, it's so funny, though, on the media side. Like, everyone thinks it's such a dark art, and it's not really when you strip it back. Like, just from my side in B2B. So I was in sport for a long time in the UK, moved over, kind of fell into tech journalism and worked for the biggest B2B media, you know, titles in the world, and now doing my own. But when I was there, and it's still the case now, there's a lot of, it's amazing how, and I say this, we're one step out of the industry, because it's true. Your industry is evolving all the time. If we were sat here 3 years ago, you'd have been talking about something else.
True.
Sat here in 6 months, it'll be an evolution of whatever it is the topic is today.
Yep.
It's never been that in B2B media. There's never been a change. It's been the same since really day one. And what I mean by that is, you've got other platforms now like LinkedIn. You've got your own platforms. You don't need to rely on third-party media as much. You can do your own.
Right.
Maybe 10, 15 years ago, you could technically have done it, but no one really did. And what that's talked to me about, and one of the reasons why we launched Moxie is the actual content value that these traditional B2B media platforms are creating. And I would question it with respect, but I would question it in that, if you asked how it works, essentially how it works on a very surface level is, you have all these publications. If we just take Australia as an easy example, you have all these publications hitting one segment of the audience, whether it's the end user in the C-suite, whether it's the channel, whether it's the vendor side, whether it's government, telco, whatever it may be. They all kind of have their little lens. Then essentially it's just a daily grind on the press release front. So you've basically got 3 or 4 journalists sat in I'd say a newsroom, but it's not really a newsroom anymore, because there's not that type of debate. It's really a shared document with a pool of who's writing about Macquarie, who's doing the Macquarie press release, who's doing the Microsoft one, who's doing the Dell one. And it got to a point where you're just creating this commodity copy and paste content, which, look, there's a good argument for getting news out and being a notice board for the community, so that, you know, people moving jobs, people acquiring people, you getting customer wins, all good, that you need that. But there's never anything else underneath it. So you've got, you know, anywhere between 4 or 5 publications to potentially even 10, all competing to copy and paste the same content 3 minutes quicker, and then blast out a newsletter to a database that hasn't really opened any of those newsletters for years probably, and just is a dormant user. So that has been going on for many years. It was going on when I was there, and they're still trying to create this. It's basically eyeballs as much as, and I know you were joking about it, but it's essentially how much content can we spray out on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Can we get the ideal would, can we get 8 to 10 stories out a day? Stories in inverted commas, because they're essentially press releases with soft editing. How can we get that out? How can we blast or copy and paste that on LinkedIn? How can we blast 2 newsletters around that and hopefully just generate enough traffic? We don't care which story it comes on. We don't care if it's only, when some of my old roles, the average time on a story was 10 seconds.
Wow.
10 seconds. That counts, by the way. That's a view. Scan the headline. And sometimes, if you write the story right, you might only need to do that. But my point is, it was just all this surface level content, which there's a role for that, don't get me wrong. But when we were launching Moxie, and what I see with what you guys are doing is, I actually think sometimes you've gone too far the other way, and it's very commodity, and it's quite hard to get anything that's of substance and of depth. So when you were talking about thought leadership before, for me, that's depth. It's actually authenticity, originality, and really getting into the roots of whatever it is. That there's no platform for that at the minute. I don't believe in B2B media in Australia, which is why you're seeing, people like yourselves do your own podcast where you can actually get into things. You can have control over it. LinkedIn as well being the same. That's a platform people can use. So I'm not as, I used to be positive about it. I'm not, look, it's employed me for a long time, so I need to be respectful of it. But I just think it hasn't evolved. It hasn't moved with the pace. It's very old school in how it thinks. It's very old school in how it operates. And I just think the industry's moved on. People have moved on. But the B2B and as a group is not really moved on.
Well, so clearly podcasts generally as a medium have grown massively in popularity, right? I mean, you look at some of the big podcasters, the Joe Rogans of this world.
Correct.
Who's the other guy that we like?
I know Sean Ryan.
Sean Ryan, he's popular too, right?
Yep.
Massive audiences that eclipse like the MSNBCs of this world, etc. I think people perhaps enjoy a long form conversation.
Well, yeah. How long's Joe Rogan's? 2-3 hours. It's as long as it needs to be. Yeah,
right?
It's as long as it needs to be.
100%.
Yeah.
You get to plenty of time to form your views and correct positions and state your insights or whatever it is, right? And I think it's amazing to me actually, because if attention spans are shortening, right, you get a long form conversation like that. Like, how does that work?
I disagree. My attention span isn't shortened. It's just what I value.
Right.
If I value something, I'll spend hours watching it or reading it or consuming it. So I don't know. I think when people say attention spans, I'm like, attention spans on your thing. They're not interested in whatever you're saying. Okay, so that's a difference in my opinion.
No,
anyway.
that works. I mean, we spoke about that at breakfast this morning, right? It's like if you
thanks for the invite.
It's not sore about that at all.
It's all right. I'm over it.
But it's like, deep focus on the things that we're interested in, and absolutely none for those that we're not.
Yeah, and by the way, and then the people that are consuming this, they might. And the other thing with B2B media is there's this thought that they go around saying we have thousands of subscribers and opt-in first-party data and all this. That's all great, but it's almost they think that you have to read every bit of content that is ever created. When I'm not sure everyone would potentially watch every episode of this. They might not be interested in what I'm saying, so they might not watch. But your next guest, they might be very interested in. So even just how people consume content's evolved. You don't go on a website, whatever your website of choice is, to get your daily news and read every single article on there. Every day.
What's the antidote to traditional B2B media? I mean, you've got some strong views, strong enough to go and start your own thing.
Yeah, look, a couple of years I might be back of it. So who knows? It's easy to have strong views, but
what's the antidote?
No, do you know what? It's everyone for themselves, right? And there's everyone has a right to exist and have a role in the market, so that's all fine. We just wanted to go a little bit different with Moxie, and we built it really on a content play of, I do 1 or 2 interviews a week. They're long tail. They take me a couple of hours. I go to wherever they are. I sit down. I really get into whatever their point is and really get into the nuts and bolts of it. Honestly, the process of me compiling that, it'll take me up to 10 hours to create that content. And it could be 2,000 words, could be 3,000 words. I've been told no one reads them, no one cares. Why are you doing old-fashioned writing? We're good at writing, we're good at telling stories, we can get into the actual nuts and bolts of things. And, we've got people on our website that are there for 7-8 minutes reading one long-form article. Do they read every article? Probably not, because it's probably the subject person that's in there. So our antidote is probably similar to what you've done, to just do our own thing. And see if it works.
Yeah. Is it working?
So far, so good. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
Moxie's all over LinkedIn, mate. I mean,
well, maybe we're doing the same as you, just spray and pray. I don't know, but no, it's okay. And look, do you know what? We're respectful. We do our thing. People can do their other thing. You don't have to like it, but we just think you can add a bit of value in the content. And back to what you were saying from a thought leadership standpoint, we're trying to actually genuinely do it.
Yeah.
I think the industry's really taken to the top minds concept.
Oh, for sure.
That's I thought that was quite different.
Well, it's funny because everyone thinks what we're doing from a top mind standpoint is like an awards. It's not. It's like, everyone gets an award, you get a prize. It's not, which is a very B2B media
It's like
thing,
handing them
by the
out
way.
like Oprah.
Yeah. By the way, that is number one for B2B media. If you need to get engagement, run awards. So run awards.
Everyone loves winning
Yeah.
an award.
You want to get 300 people in the room, run an awards
Flattery
program.
will get everybody
Yeah,
everywhere.
not
That's
difficult
right,
at all.
Yeah.
But on the top minds, the logic there was, and again, I'm one step removed from I might know media, but I don't know tech. So what we wanted to do with top minds was get CEOs, founders, MDs, CIOs, CTOs, CISOs, and just get them, it's community created content. So ask them, well, you guys are living and breathing it in the market. What do you see? And actually, we're being more of an editorial vehicle to get that insight out there rather than us, sitting behind a screen, as I said, copy and pasting press releases without any knowledge of the market. It's actually engaging the industry as much as we can to say, well, your thoughts on this, Jono, is X, Y, and Z. Great, we can amplify that and do it that way. So, yeah, it's so far so good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think if we think about LinkedIn here for a second, right? So I think, genuine content, honest content, the kind of conversations that you and I have, et cetera. I know you and I value that. I think partly because we enjoy having the conversation so much. I'm looking forward to a day on LinkedIn. Everybody, like when they leave a job, they say, amazing people, my boss was incredible, et cetera. Where's the truth behind that?
Yeah. So why'd you leave then?
Yeah, why'd you leave? I'm looking forward to the day where I read one and said, I hate these people. My boss was
I didn't write that
on this podcast.
I just said I've resigned. I didn't write anything bad or anything good.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Like maybe there'll be an evolution of that too in the fullness of time.
Like an authenticity. Maybe it's a revolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's what's needed.
I think so.
Who's going to go first?
Right. Don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like, and you mentioned telling stories. I'm a huge fan of the storytelling format. I love concepts like the hero's journey and these kinds of things, and I find it a really effective way to get your point across and help somebody that you're speaking with retain that information and make it meaningful.
Yeah.
Do you think our industry is good or bad at telling stories?
Bad for the answer, and then I'll expand.
Let's help everybody.
Yeah,
understand.
and so I'm answering directly to your point there, but bad's probably the harsh word. But what I mean by that is, it's not your core role, is it? You have a day job. Yeah. So that's again back to my point.
These days,
yeah,
James.
actually less. Yeah,
Aaron,
exactly.
do you have a day job?
Yeah.
Don't want to say too much about it. Continue.
But my point is, it's not a criticism because I studied at this at uni for 4 years, and then I've done it for I do it every day, and I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm bad in a lot of areas, but my point is I'm doing it every day, and I'm learning from it, and I know what's works and not, and I'm trying to hone my craft. It's not your day job, and that's a really important point for people, I think, to take comfort in, that it's fine if you feel like you can't tell a story, but everyone has a story, and whatever your story is worth telling in whatever guise that you feel comfortable. And there's lots of ways you can do it where you don't have to be a wordsmith, or you have to have this brilliant production and set these things up. I think people think you got to be extreme.
Yes.
How you tell the story. You can't just tell it.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I mean, one of my actual day jobs, Jono, that you're well aware of, is I lead a team of principal consultants. And they're all customer facing. They all do pre-sales work, and they're all very different. Yeah, different personality types. They're not all shiny face show offs like certain people, right? They are.
Jono, yeah.
Well, I just happen to be looking that way, but they will endear themselves to a prospect in any number of ways, right? And they do tell stories. It'll be through the acumen of the subject matter, their experience, their understanding of the requirement, or whatever it is. You're achieving the same goal. Correct. You are telling a story. You're just doing it your own way, right? with a little bit more substance perhaps than somebody else. Who knows?
Well, you would hope so, right? I think though there are, like, the cool thing that I've sort of learned over my career, studying, I guess, the science and the art of storytelling is, I sort of started out with, my career was an engineer when I first started doing this caper. And the thing that helped me was I took a lot of comfort in the fact that there is a science. There's a structure to telling a good story. There's a science, and if there's a science, then it's written down and it's something you can learn.
Correct.
Have you got any practical tips for our audience, for people out there who might be thinking about this, going, oh, that guy's just got the gift of the gab, that's not me, but they've got a story to tell? How might they go about honing that and developing that skill?
A good bit of advice. And by the way, you can tell stories in different ways, right? I mean, I know we all love LinkedIn, but it's not the be all and end all, right? There's other things out in the world that how you can build a brand. And as you said, you can build a brand just by speaking with customers on a daily basis and have a great network, and no one would know about that. But I think one thing that I always got as good advice was when we were launching Moxie. You launch it, same as you guys, right? You're trying to get some big hitters on or whatever. You want to start well, and then
That's why you're here.
Well, I'm number 3, right? So yeah.
He's still dark on breakfast. Carry on.
Look, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But I interviewed a guy called Ash Jones. So he's founder of a company in the UK called Great Influence, and he's basically was part of the team that built the brand of Stephen Bartlett, so Diary of a CEO. So he was helping build that personal brand of him during those early days until the podcast. So I interviewed him just around personal brand. So I thought that would be a really good way to start and something different from a content standpoint, right? As I mentioned before, a little bit unique. And his recommendation was find your fusion. So what he said was, it's very hard to say something today that hasn't already been said. It's a lot on culture, a lot on team, a lot of things, AI, whatever it is. And that's fine, right? It's just the way the market is. So, and you can go down that route, that's no problem. But if you want to be comfortable, to your point, Jono, and do something in a way that you feel is achievable, find your fusion. So link it. So if you're technical, for example, link it to an interest or link it to something you like. So he did the exercise on me because I'm actually an introvert. I post because it's my job. But the personal posts actually only started a few years ago because he said to me, well, you've started your own business. You have a responsibility to build your brand to help your business's brand if you do it in the right way. So if you start to, and Cherry Yumalawa, one of our co-founders, said this, if you think of it less about you than passing knowledge on, it actually becomes a little bit easier. So when people say, I don't know how to tell my story, I'm a bit nervous behind it, who would want to hear from me? Don't think of it that way. Think of it as you just passing on your knowledge to someone else who will pick it up. And it really reframes it. And the find your fusion is essentially, so the way he did it with me was, okay, I'm in media, great. I like running. So he's like, well, link it to that then. Or now you're an entrepreneur, so link it to that. But I'm more inclined on the running side because I like you like cycling, right? For example, so you can find your fusion and then create content that links. So when I'm writing these posts, I'm writing them on my phone while I'm running because I'm like, oh, that's good, I might post it. So I'm not having to sit down for a week. And some people do this, right? They sit down and they schedule all the posts. I think that's a little bit hard to do because it just should just come out naturally. So I think for people out there that are struggling to tell their story, just link it to something you're interested in. Forget everyone else. And you'll be amazed at how much that will resonate because the authenticity will come out.
Yeah, listen, so I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, we study our stats and, we trawl over that. Human interest and this concept of building your personal brand, and it will invariably help your business as well. You've got to have trust in being a little bit vulnerable as well, because I think that just goes to honesty and transparency, which we've spoken about. But yeah, like cycling stuff, right? Human endeavor. I mean, I did my race in Europe and I put those little videos up of me disheveled and red-faced and dried as a husk and, like just pouring your heart out on a video. Throw that up, you get like 20,000 views.
Yeah, and you get a personal connection, right?
Right.
People very rarely people come up and say, great article. They say, oh, how was your run in Singapore?
Right.
Or you looked, you looked like you were struggling, or you don't look like you're a runner.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, that's just me. It doesn't have to be that. I speak to we ran an event a few weeks ago in Malaysia, and that culture is very reserved. They don't use LinkedIn as much, and we speak to a CIO about how they build their personal brand. Incredibly technical. They're not culturally inclined that way. So he's got two things against him.
Right.
And I just said, well, what do you actually love doing? He went, I actually love technology. I love messing about with it every night. I experiment with it. And he's a CIO. I said, well, write about that. Write about what you do in your spare time. If that's your hobby, write about it. And he's starting to post. And he messaged me the other day. He said, it's actually easy for me to post because I actually like it. And it's my passion. I went, well, yeah, you don't have to create a story that isn't your story. It's yours, whatever it is.
Find your fusion.
Yeah, find your fusion.
Brilliant.
It's not my line, but it's a great one.
Well, we're getting it out there. I think there's so many people in our industry who have great stories to tell.
100%.
I meet them all the time, and they're just not sure what to do about it, right? So I think anything that helps is great. That one's a really easy tip.
And I think you touched on it at the start, Jono. You see people posting on, you joked on it, but you see people posting on LinkedIn. You go, they don't think that.
No,
that's not them.
Yeah.
So
people know.
Yeah. She's not like
away.
that.
Yeah.
Or he's not like that. So that's a basic one.
Yes.
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 It's your personal platform at the end of the day. So
that's right.
Fantastic advice. I think when IT leaders are trying to get a message out there and sort of build some authority or be thought leaders, the authentic ones you can tell straight away. What do you think the biggest mistake that people attempting to establish themselves as thought leaders in our industry are making? So obviously you're adjacent looking in. Yeah. You're seeing stuff done really well. But if there was one or two common mistakes that are being made that you have observed, what would they be?
They're lazy with it. So what I mean is they want the goal of being a thought leader, but they're not prepared to do any of the steps that get them there. It's supposed to be selfless, actually. You're supposed to pass on knowledge. It's not supposed to be self-serving. You will win. The glory will come in that you will. The byproduct of it is you will build your brand. But you actually, if you want to build a community, you have to give more than you take. And I think a lot of people don't get that point. So for example, like really quick story, before I started in tech media, I used to be in sports. So I studied 4 years journalism in university in the UK. And I wrote for my football team is Sunderland. And I wrote for it's called a fanzine. So it's
shout out to the Sunderland fans.
All four of them.
Okay.
A magazine. It's called a fanzine. So it's a magazine written by the fans. So you essentially, every club has one. And I would go in on the Monday and we would, there's 5 or 6 of us. I'm volunteering. And it's an A5, 60-page magazine that you produce every week. You'd be writing stories about players, formations, whatever it is, transfers. And then the designers would be doing it as you go. And then the big difference was you get the magazine on the Friday, and then me as a teenager at uni, you get the boxes, and then I had to go outside the stadium and sell it in front of 50,000 people. So the lead story on the front was potentially mine, and you have people walking past saying, it's called a Love Supreme. I'd be stood there going, Love Supreme, £2.50, and they'd be walking past going, I'm not getting that, mate. It's shit. You don't know what you're talking about. So you get 50,000 people walking past you saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And my point is, it learned that sports fans are very well educated on their sport. They're very structured in their arguments. They're very passionate about how they argue. They're very authentic. And it made me think, well, if I incorporate that into my writing in this fanzine, it will actually help improve my thought leadership, my respect in the market. They don't have to agree with me, but they can at least see the difference of opinion and that it's well considered. And I've always took that, and maybe because I had the real time, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know it. At least now, if I write an article, people really have to go out their way to offend you now, right? They really have to call you and say, you don't know what you're talking about. But then it made me think, well, if you're writing content now and you talk about the mistakes, just be well considered, really go through whatever it is your point is and be authentic in it and have the depth. And then it doesn't matter if people agree or not, but they can always at least agree that where you're coming from is in the correct place. And I think that's thought leadership. People sometimes confuse it with you have to agree with them.
No, that's right.
You don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I just think, you know what, that's very well considered and I respect where you're coming from. I might disagree, but I think in that respect, you are a thought leader.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
you know.
Ricky Gervais said that, didn't he? Just because you're offended doesn't make you right.
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
So you're allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah, and I think where I'm offended is when it's surface level. I think it's insulting to people, and you guys would know that, right? When you're in the audience of things and people say things to you one-liners, and you're like, "Come on, give me more,
Give me more.
give me more."
That's
Yeah,
right.
so what does that actually mean, that thing that you just said?
And I still might disagree with you
know.
at the end, but just give me more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've got a
So-
question for you both on LinkedIn again, right? And for some reason it's on my mind. But you know when you read somebody's title on LinkedIn, it says, I help organizations discover their inner talent, or I help organizations fine-tune their strategy or growth or whatever. And I read those and I think, do you?
Yeah.
Really? Like
Yeah.
you're going to take a look at my business straight away, and your job is to immediately improve that because you have the power.
And you also can't follow instructions because that tab is job title,
Right.
And you haven't filled it out properly,
Right. It irks me. Does it irk? Does it irk you guys as well? I don't know. It bothers me.
I think I think
does,
there
yeah.
I think there was a bit of a trend early on, and I this is going back in the early days of LinkedIn. Now, I even spoke to a consultant in a previous gig I was at who recommended using that field in that way.
Right.
Like there were people educating salespeople in our industry to operate that way on the platform. So there might have been a bit of a trend. Maybe it's a hangover from that. I'm not sure, but I distinctly remember being given thought leadership advice,
Right.
to use that field in that
and
way.
even the word "I" isn't a good start.
Yeah.
Like it's like, well, oh, you're not part of a team. You
No.
don't have you don't have technical
Yeah.
capabilities there. You don't
Yeah.
have strategy.
Right,
so
well,
even that gives an indicator.
There's another hot tip for our audience: be authentic. I actually think I like if you're a salesperson, put that in your job title.
Exactly, that's what
Right.
you do.
I'm a sales and be,
What's wrong with that?
Be proud of
Oh,
that.
no, the sneaky ones are the recruiters, right? Because they're consultants.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's right.
Head of technology.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got to like dig deep into the profile. Go, hang on a
Yeah.
minute. This
No,
is
I think
recruiter.
I think some salespeople struggle with this. They don't want to. They think if they tell people they're a salesperson, it's hard. You've already failed, right? If you're coming at that profession from a genuine place, it's actually your job to help people,
Yeah.
and that's a salesperson's job. Be okay with that.
And you have an advantage in that you might have spoke to 100 people in the same situation.
That's
In
right.
the like you have a great lens on the market, like
Yeah.
a hugely unique lens that other people don't have.
Yeah.
If you just own that space
Yep.
and not try to be something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for our listeners. That is a good place to wrap up that conversation, because I know Naran's pretty excited to hit you right between the eyes with the quick fire 3.
Now I'm going to change these questions just to keep. No, I'm not. I'm going to read the
for it.
questions.
Can't
Here we
remember
go.
what they are anyway.
We'll get into that right after this break.
Okay. We are at the section which we refer to as the quick fire 3 questions. All right? Now I'm going to hope that you understand what this is all about, because I'm going to hit them with you. We've just been talking about authenticity, so I expect you to just run your mouth on whatever comes in your head
Right.
immediately.
It's the best way.
It's the only way. All right, here we go. What's the one piece of advice that you would give your past self before taking on a major tech initiative or challenge?
Just do it, actually.
Just do
I
it.
take too long to do things.
Yeah,
I overthink things.
right. I asked you that same question. I got a similar answer from you, Jono, when you would have said to your younger self, just trust in your instincts,
Yeah.
get on with it, don't be afraid to fail. I suggested maybe that could be cataclysmic. You suggested it might not be, but I agree with you, by the way. I think there's too much hesitation. The amount of people I speak to that could have made decisions that didn't and regretted not doing
I'm tweaking everything all the time for no reason.
Right.
Just like crack on.
Get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a bias for action.
Mm-hmm.
Good advice.
Good advice. I like that. Question number 2. What's something that you used to believe in tech leadership that you no longer do?
That the thought leadership, actually.
Mm.
I'm a bit disappointed sometimes
Right.
that there's not enough care taken to deliver that quality content. And maybe it's because of where I'm coming from in the market, but I think, especially at a leadership standpoint, that's the kind of the benchmark, right? Or it should be. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit disappointing sometimes when you sit down with people and you think, oh, I expected more.
Mm.
And I'm not saying there isn't more there. I'm just saying for whatever reason you're not sharing it in an authentic way.
Yeah. Maybe people have got to believe in themselves a little bit
Yeah.
more. And I love the fusion piece, right? Lean into your fusion. I can't remember the exact words.
Find your fusion.
Find your fusion. Right, yeah, that's a good way to do it for maybe those of us that aren't naturally extrovert and capable of just getting on with it.
Just to expand on that, so you thought that people were more authentic than they are?
No, it was more I'd sit down and do, and it's not always that. No. So at Moxie now, we do these profiles and we do executive interviews. We struggle to get execs aligned to how we want to do it because, you know, the PR agencies, the traditional way of doing it, they're very much against it. I have to be honest. In terms of people confuse authenticity with being controversial. That's not the same thing. It's just being honest around what you're seeing in the market and actually having that depth we're going back to. There's not a lot of appetite for doing that in the market, unfortunately. So from my side, it's, you know, when I'm selecting interviews, it's just based on relationships because I know that person. So I'm fortunate I can do that, but it's so difficult at the minute. So it's more when I sit down with someone that I know is great at what they do and have the ability to give genuine insights. They're hamstrung by a million reasons potentially out of their control that stops them from doing it.
What do you think causes that? Is it a bureaucracy? Is there people worried about their share price or, you know, other things?
Yeah,
like what's driving that?
To be fair, there's some fair reasons, especially if you work in the vendor land, right? In it's listed and you don't want to be that person. But that's fine. I mean, not that we ever do the financials anyway, but so there's an element of that. I'm sure there's fear of, you know, you don't want to say something wrong, especially if you're in a culture where it's very controlled in terms of, there's some large media vendors globally that are very liberal in how they engage and very authentic, and there's some that are very controlled. So I'd say it's probably fear, and I want to be respectful of that because people have a job, right? And you want to make sure that you're looking after that first. But yeah, the PR side, it's hard sometimes on the engagement. I do struggle. They don't, what we're doing is not very much valued, to be honest, because it's, you know, longer form. It takes a couple of hours. You've got to sit down. It's actually very in depth. Not a lot of people actually want that level of, it's not even scrutiny, but it's kind of like an opportunity to share your thoughts. It's amazing how many people shy away from that when they get given the opportunity.
Well, so there's two parts to it, right? So, Jono, we know the experience of running this podcast and Cloud Reset before it. I would say it's probably in the minority, the guests that we had on that had the freedom to say what they want. I mean, obviously when we release the podcast, James will do the same for you. You get right of refusal. You get to edit and choose what you want to keep or not. And most of the time it's all fine.
Oh, you're good. Go for it.
But some guests go through hell with that.
Yeah,
right?
and I feel for them.
And they rock up with, I mean, we've had some guests that rocked up with like 6-7 pages of notes, almost like they're reading from script. Now they relax, obviously, because we're lunatics, Jono, and we keep the conversation light and breezy. But I'm wondering whether it's a real privilege to have the freedom to speak your mind when you work for a business versus the opposite, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And look, we see it more on the partner side because there's a little bit more freedom, obviously, in terms of, you know, potentially locally owned businesses that you've only got to persuade one or two people sometimes around, you know, having that. So I get it and I'm respectful of it, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help the brand if you ask me.
No.
To be honest.
Maybe there's a natural shift going on here, right? I mean, we talked before about podcasts, their growing interest, people walking away from traditional sort of media perhaps and preferencing long-form conversation, building personal brand, the importance of that and the byproduct it helps your business, etc. Maybe we're seeing a natural shift.
I agree. And the media side isn't doing enough of a job to try and hold the line. Like, that's what I'm saying. I've walked away from quite a lot of high-profile interviews with the greatest of respect, just because it wasn't, you couldn't do those things. You couldn't have that open conversation. You couldn't be authentic. And I'd like to think I have the trust to do that in a very respectful and professional way. It's not, I'm not trying to hunt for anything.
No, that's right.
So, but you know, that's fine. Sometimes proof is in the pudding, right? I'm sure you guys, once this goes out more, you've raised that bar, and then people come in here and they feel obliged to meet the level that you've set.
Yeah.
And that just takes time sometimes.
We hope so.
I think so.
I definitely think people are becoming more receptive.
Correct.
To telling a really authentic story about what they're passionate about, and in a business setting, that's actually what's required to do good business.
Correct.
Right? Like if you're genuinely there to solve a great problem and earn the right to exchange the solution for some money. That's all business is, right? So
Exactly.
I think that authenticity is really important.
What a great segue to question 3. Okay, so question 3 is this. What is your gut check for spotting a good partner or walking away from a bad one? And let me just clarify. What we mean by that is business partner in any capacity.
Good clarification.
Okay, that was for Jono's benefit. He got confused last time.
Do you know what? I think mutual respect. And look, I know there's when you do partnerships, there's potentially an exchange of money. So there's someone who's paying for it, and someone who's maybe, and usually for us, it's we're on the obviously delivery side, so we'll be working with someone, but we value that mutual respect, and actually and that extends into, if you're having a partnership, then let the other partner do what they do well, and amount of times we would potentially partner with someone and then be controlled in our area, and it's like, well, why are you partnering with us in the first place?
Yeah.
So and vice versa, we would be like, oh, you do that very well, please do it, you're the expert, you take the lead. So, and that for me is a little bit of mutual respect in terms of when you go into those partnerships. It's that, okay, well, what do you bring to the table, what do we bring? Okay, you do your thing, we'll do our thing, we can collaborate, and that's where you actually get some really good stuff.
Yep.
So I'd put it down to that.
Works for me.
Great answers. That was the quick fire 3. James, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on Moxie Insights. It's going gangbusters. And I know for me personally, an incredibly interesting, perhaps self-indulgent conversation, because we're so curious to learn more about how all of this works. But I'm sure our listeners will have gotten a lot out of that. There's some great takeaways. We'll chop them up into little sound bites for maybe some of them to make it easier to consume. Fantastic conversation today. Very grateful. Thank you very
James.
much.
Appreciate you having me, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. That's it for this episode of Things Reasons. We are the inside track for Australian IT leaders. We are executive produced by Prue Loon. Our digital producer is Karina Aguilera. Remember that you can catch us anywhere you find your podcast. That's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, etc. Connect with us on LinkedIn, please. We want that. I'm going to put some details up right there. Look, if you want to join us or you want to support the podcast, please email Prue at thingsreasons.show. And I think we can put that email address up as well. There you go. Ding. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. See you next time, everyone.